Welcome to the Keto Summit Show, where it's all about helping you lose weight, regain energy, and live a healthier lifestyle using a keto diet. Here's your host, Louise.
So today I am joined by Andress, who is the CEO of Swerve. That is the ultimate sugar replacement if you're on a keto diet, and it can be used in creating delicious foods, even creme brulee. And Swerve is also 0 calories. It's a non-glycemic sweetener, and it measures cup for cup like sugar. So it's a great one for using when you want to replace your favorite dishes. It's also sweet, obviously, and it's safe and very natural. And Andress and her team works out of New Orleans, and they've been doing this for the past 16 years. And so I hope we'll get to discuss part of that journey as well. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having us today. Really excited about talking and chatting with you and getting to know you a little bit better as well.
Perfect. Well, so tell us a little bit about Swerve, how you started and the journey to where you are today.
You know, Louise, it's so funny because we didn't really start out as a sugar replacement, so to speak. We were sweetening protein shakes. We wanted to sweeten them naturally. And my former business partner and I wanted women to know that they should get more protein in their diets. And it had to taste good. It had to really be good, because if you think back into the late 90s, early 2000s, protein shakes really didn't taste that good. They were chalky. We said, man, guys can, they can drink this stuff and it's no problem, but women want things to taste good. So we started playing around with sweeteners and different ingredients to sweeten our protein shakes. And actually that's how we came up with Swerve, was a combination of ingredients. And it tasted so good, we thought, goodness, why don't we start putting this in a bag on its own as well and actually having a sugar replacement available? The whole premise of those protein shakes, and thus what became the premise of Swerve, was blood sugar stabilization. Understanding that when you have the right macronutrients in your diet, that you stabilize your blood sugar, making sure that you're not having that blood sugar roller coaster, better energy levels, better weight management. So all of those things were important to us. And ultimately, Swerve became a tool in that toolbox for really helping to stabilize blood sugar.
What got you interested in that blood sugar aspect of things?
I don't talk, it's funny, I don't talk about this very often, but it was a little bit of it was my own personal journey. And then what I started seeing for other people. But I never really thought about food groups. I never thought about, where's my protein coming from? My fat, my carbohydrates. I was in the radio industry, and it was kind of a fast and furious. Get there at 5 o'clock in the morning. A lot of times we were there until 7 o'clock at night. And I didn't think about the nutrients and the fuel that I was putting in my own engine. And so when I started learning about that and think about it, who teaches us those things, right? How do we learn about that? We don't we're not in school and in our health education classes really getting a firm understanding of macronutrients, the food triangle we needed to turn upside down, right? And so from that standpoint, it was me starting to get a little more information for myself, and then starting to really balance my own blood sugar. That's what made the biggest difference, is that I started seeing that I was losing weight. I started seeing that I had better energy levels all the time. And I feel like when you have better energy levels, you actually do everything better, right? You think better, you have better exercise, you're just better in everyday life. You're a better mom, dad, sister, employee, all of those things. And so it was really the energy part that became so vital to my own personal journey. And that's what I wanted to really share with others. And so it was me. I lost quite a bit of weight. I think I probably lost about 35 pounds. But the difference was, and when you do it the right way, it was the clothes sizes that I lost, right? So it was about my body composition that really changed. And so ever since then, I've been a big advocate of being carb conscious and really understanding about blood sugar control.
That's fantastic. I mean, I got into this partially because of my dad, who has type 2 diabetes, and he was able to control, his blood sugar completely by diet alone. So he doesn't take any insulin anymore, and he was able to get off all the medications for that, which is amazing.
It's so incredible when you think about the fact that it really is, because diabetes is a disease, right? It is called a disease. It is one of the one diseases that you can reverse it. It is a lot of times for most, and everybody's a little different, but for most people, it is very much in your own control to take charge of it. The exercise, the food choices. I mean, those things make such a difference when it comes to blood sugar management and being able to not take those medications, which have such challenging side effects in the long run.
Right. I mean, and it's like you pointed out, it's one of those things that nobody actually teaches you about. And so many of us have to learn about it ourselves and kind of go through that journey. So exactly. I wanted to delve into specifically Swerve, and one of the ingredients it has is erythritol, which is a sugar alcohol. So could you tell us a little bit about sugar alcohols and why they're 0 calories or good for blood sugar control?
Yeah, absolutely. So sugar alcohols is a classification of multiple different products, right? We've heard of many of them. Probably the most popular would be xylitol. There's also maltitol, sorbitol, lactitol. So there's a whole class. Erythritol is in that same class, but it has some very unique differences versus the other sugar alcohols. The one reason why people lean towards sugar alcohols is because they have a lower glycemic index than sugar, right? So we're really trying to, again, control that glycemic response. And so sugar alcohols play a vital role in that when you're trying to not get as much sugar in your diet, but you still want to indulge in something sweet. The challenge is all of the sugar alcohols have, with the exception of erythritol, so I'm going to talk about these others right now, have a very low laxation threshold. So they are unable to permeate the intestines, and that causes that gas and bloating and the not so nice side effects from sugar alcohols, which most everyone has experienced those if they've ever eaten some of the sugar-free candy bars and things of that nature. With erythritol, it's metabolized completely differently. So it's actually absorbed in the small intestines right when it comes out of the stomach, which doesn't make its way then into the large intestines. And that's where all the havoc is generally is caused, is in the large intestines, in the colon. And so that digestive pathway being different allows you to consume a lot more erythritol. So if you mentioned creme brulee, perfect example. If you're having a creme brulee that's been made with Swerve and a product that has erythritol, then you're going to be able to consume a lot more of it before you would have those issues. One other key distinguishing factor is the caloric count of erythritol. The other sugar alcohols are a slight reduction in calories versus sugar. So sugar being at 4 calories per gram. The other ones are like 2.4, 2.6. So they're a slight reduction in calories, whereas erythritol is 0 calorie. So again, we're trying to manage those calories. We're getting that non-glycemic effect from erythritol. So it really makes it the superior sugar alcohol of all of them that are on the market today.
Fantastic. And then I also noticed in Swerve, you have oligosaccharides.
Yes, exactly. It's fun to say oligosaccharide. It doesn't sound very natural, nor does erythritol, which we've always said, gosh, that's why we call our products Swerve. We're putting these things together that don't sound very friendly, but they are made naturally. So that's the good news about it. Oh, and by the way, let me go back to erythritol real quick. It is made via a natural fermentation process. So if you've ever been into a brewery, and now craft breweries are so prevalent these days, you get to see these big brewing tanks that are brewing that beer. That's exactly what an erythritol manufacturing facility looks like. These big vats that are actually brewing glucose into erythritol. So it's a pretty neat process, very clean, very friendly. We know that fermentation is something that actually is really taken off as far as dietary products as well, or products that are better for you. But the oligosaccharides, these are sourced from starchy root vegetables, and they actually are prebiotic fibers. They're digestive resistant, so they do make their way into your colon. You can overdo it on the oligosaccharides. Now, some people can have some challenges with them because they do create a friendly environment, friendly food for the bacteria in our gut. But with Swerve, we have just enough in there to really help the functionality of the product. And so it allows you to be able to make things like the creme brulee to get that browning and that caramelization that you expect out of sugar. Plus, it has a very lovely flavor as well, which adds to the overall good taste and the yumminess that Swerve is going to impart in any of your desserts and baked goods.
So it actually has a slight sweetness that it adds to?
They are sweet fibers, absolutely. And even if you just taste oligosaccharides on their own, you're going to get that sweet flavor for sure.
And then do they also help bulk it up to kind of create that 1-to-1 ratio that you can substitute with?
It's synergistic between the erythritol and those oligosaccharides. So it's the synergy of those. And that's the one thing I think that really makes Swerve different is that combination that we have created to give it that one-for-one replacement so that you can take a recipe that may have been passed down for generations. Ben, our director of sales and marketing, we also call him Baker Ben because he's the one who does a lot of baking in our office and recipe development. He took a tried and true recipe from his Grandma Raymond's lemon butter cakes, and he actually just replaced the sugar with Swerve. Instead of packaged pudding mix, he actually created his own concoction, and this is a recipe that's on our website. But that's where you can take these great recipes that have a little bit of a story behind them and still be able to make those and indulge in them, but in a way that is going to be definitely much healthier for you.
That's amazing. I mean, because I've used erythritol a lot, and a lot of people, have the issue where it doesn't brown well.
Exactly.
So you've created this ability to effectively create all of these delicious desserts that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do with just regular sugar alcohols.
That's exactly right. And it really is about having that functionality. I mean, we eat with our eyes first, right? That's what people always say. So when you have a creme brulee, you want it to look like your standard sugar creme brulee. And if you take a look at the Swerve granular packaging, the creme brulee that's on the front of that packaging is actually made with Swerve. So all of our packaging, the items that are on the front have actually been made with the product, with Swerve, and the granular, and then the confectioners has the icing on top of the cupcakes. That's actually made with confectioner Swerve. And of course, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but we have a new product that's hitting the market right now, and that's our brown sugar replacement.
Yes, I was going to ask you about this.
Yeah, really excited about that. It's quite innovative, and it's hitting the market right now.
Fantastic. So going back a little bit to you talked about some of the sugar alcohols needing, like you can't eat too much of them. Is there a max for Swerve as well that people should be aware of?
No, it's a good question. The biggest thing to be aware of is every digestive system's different, right? And so everyone has a little bit of a different tolerance level. And for some people who may be moving over to a healthier way of eating, they could, and especially with digestive issues being so prevalent, they could actually have inflammation of the gut, which wouldn't allow them to eat as much of any of the sugar alcohols at first. But as we heal our gut and as we consume foods that are nutritious and will reduce the inflammation in our gut and in our body overall, we see that people can really build up that amount of Swerve or any of the other sugar alcohols to a certain extent. The other ones are always going to be a little harder to absorb. But I would tell you, in all of the years that I've been doing this, it's rare for people to have digestive issues with Swerve. But again, just in all fairness, all digestive systems are created differently. So some people, it can be a little bit of a challenge, but that's the beautiful part about our product is that most people don't have any digestive issues.
Perfect. And then if someone's wanting to try Swerve, are there any things they should watch out for when they replace just regular sugar with Swerve? I mean, does it taste slightly different? Should the baking temperatures vary? I mean, is there anything that's different at all?
Yeah, there's some slight differences, and erythritol, and as well as all the other sugar alcohols, have what's called a negative heat of solution. That sounds a little technical, but I'll explain it in what it really means. Is when you consume those sugar alcohols, when you place them in your mouth, the energy that's required to dissolve them creates a cooling sensation, okay? So if you've ever had, you mentioned erythritol before, if you've ever eaten it on its own and Swerve has this slight cooling effect, everybody experiences it a little bit differently, is when you breathe in, you can feel that cool nature, it's minty feeling on your tongue. By coupling that with foods that are higher in fat, so cheesecake is a perfect example. Most people who make cheesecake with Swerve would never even know that it didn't have sugar because that fat offsets that cooling effect. So just depending on the items that you're making and your sensitivity, you can play around with that. Sometimes you might want to, with Swerve, cover. If you have a cake and you're getting right there to the last 5 to 10 minutes of that baking, you may want to cover it with aluminum foil. That may help to not have it brown too much on top. So there's some little nuances like that can make a difference. I would say one thing is storing it. So we're in New Orleans and it's hot and humid, and Swerve, just like sugar, tends to want to clump. So we really recommend storing it in your refrigerator or your freezer. It's great. It stays free flowing, comes right out of the package. So that's one little storage tip that I'd like to pass along there. We learned the hard way in New Orleans with our heat and humidity.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Could you tell us where our listeners could perhaps find all your products?
We are found throughout North America, the United States, and Canada. Lots of different retailers. We're very fortunate that we've had our key natural partners and so excited to continue to expand those grocery relationships. We're also expanding some of our larger relationships. I'm actually in Florida right now, down in South Florida. We have a great partner down here, Publix. Of course, Whole Foods Market. We've just gone into numerous Walmart stores throughout the western part of the United States, from Texas over to the west coast of California. And so again, continuing to make sure that we can have Swerve in places where everybody can get it, right? Because not everybody has a Whole Foods Market in their town. Not everybody has a Sprouts Farmers Market, another great partner of ours. So we want to make sure that we are where our customers are. And the more that people are understanding that they still want to indulge in sweet treats, the more that they're realizing that they want to limit the amount of sugar they're consuming. And of course, Louise, Amazon.com, Thrive.com, international like you, Netrition and Vitacost are great options, as well as iHerb. So there are multiple choices for e-commerce as well as brick and mortar stores as well.
That's fantastic. Well, it sounds like we can all find it. So there's really no excuse if you want to try it to go out and get some.
Well, and I want to make sure that everybody knows if you're having trouble finding it, our team back in New Orleans, they're fantastic when it comes to answering every single phone call, answering every single email that comes through. You can simply go to swervesweet.com, contact us. Bree and Amy and Ben and the entire team, they actually answer every single email. And so if for some reason we didn't and it skipped through, you know how emails can be from time to time, but if you have questions, if you want help locating where you can buy Swerve, we always try to keep the latest and greatest list on our website. There's a store locator on the website, but sometimes we might have a little more information that hasn't gone onto the website yet. So please feel free to reach out with any questions. We always welcome that.
Like maybe where to find your brown sugar.
Right, exactly. Good. And that one will be going live on Amazon very soon. It has hit some stores in the Texas area already, so we're really excited about that. We actually got an email over the weekend. A woman had picked up Swerve in Texas, brown Swerve in Texas, and said, "But wait, I don't see it on your website, and I see it's unavailable on Amazon. Have you discontinued it?" And I thought, we're just getting started. So hold tight. We promise we're working on that as fast and as furious as we can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and for giving up your time to chat with us and to impart so much knowledge about sugar alcohols, Swerve, and how to bake with them and create delicious desserts that's great for all of us to eat.
Well, thank you for having us. And again, reach out anytime with any other questions. We'll always be there at swervesweet.com.
Hey, it's Louise from the Keto Summit Show, where we share practical tips and actionable advice to help you look good and feel good lifelong. So if you've enjoyed watching this video, then please click the subscribe button on YouTube and share our YouTube link with your friends and family. Thanks, and see you on the next episode.